This episode is brought to you by The Science of Scaling. And The Science of Scaling is a podcast that, honestly, you should check out.
Yeah, it's called The Science of Scaling, and it's all about how to scale a business successfully, whether it's how to find outside capital or what to look for in your very first sales hire.
It's a new show hosted by Mark Roberge. She's the best-selling author of The Sales Acceleration Formula. He's also a senior lecturer at Harvard Business School and the founding CRO of HubSpot.
One thing that Mark mentions in the show is whether your company is valued at $1 million, $10 million, $100 million, the failure rate is the same, which means we suck at scaling.
In each episode, you'll hear interviews with people like Kyle Parrish, the VP of Sales at Figma, and Kevin Egan, the head of sales at Atlassian.
I've checked out a few episodes of The Science of Scaling, and it's great. Like, for me, I run a company as a bootstrap company. We're not the kind of company that's raised capital, but even still, things like sales, that's super important, and it's the lifeblood of our company. So for me, it's definitely helpful to hear how other people have sort of, who have been there and done it before, how they're actually approaching scaling. So go on in your favorite podcast app, whatever it might be, and search for The Science of Scaling. That's The Science of Scaling. Check it out. I think you're really going to enjoy it. This episode of Rocketship.fm is sponsored by Industry, the Product Conference. This October, gather with hundreds of product managers and product leaders from all around the world for 2 days of keynote talks, challenging working sessions, interactive discussions, social events, and more. Or add a third day and take part in half-day workshops with some of today's top product management facilitators for workshops on leading your teams to innovation, product roadmaps, achieving product market fit, and more. This year's lineup may be the best yet, with keynote speakers including product legend Marty Kagan. He's the author of the book Inspired, which is considered by many to be the seminal book for product managers and product leaders. There's also product positioning expert and author of Obviously Awesome April Dunford, and product leaders from Figma, IDEO, Amplitude, and so many other places. Plus, if you use the code Rocketship, you'll save $100 off your pass. Visit industryconference.com/global for more details. Again, industryconference/global for more information, but pricing increases on the first of the month, so register soon to save.
So as many of you may know, I ventured out this year. I left my job as the chief product officer at Dribbble to start a brand new company, and that company is gigantic. No, really, that's the name. We're actually very small today, but we are the training institute of the future. And my goal is to help you master the new influential disciplines that are driving results within organizations. And we're starting with some absolutely incredible courses like product leadership taught by Ben Foster, the former CPO at Whoop, deconstructing leadership with Allison Go, formerly of Meta and Amazon. We have revolutionizing marketing with AI, which is taught by Marie Osipova, who is the chief marketing officer at Penny.ai, and an upcoming product management course, which is taught by my co-host, Mike Belcito, along with Anna Marie Clifton of Coinbase and Asana, and Victoria Kennedy, who worked at Axios and Huge, and is now running her own venture capital studio. It's not just video courses. We're combining video lectures with take-home assignments and exercises, and then small group mentorship to really help make this information indelible for you and to help level you up, and all at a cost that most companies' learning and development budget covers. So if you're interested, go to gigantic.is, that's gigantic.is, sign up for a course, and you can actually schedule a call with me, and I'll walk you through everything that you need to know. And if you enroll and let me know that you heard about this on Rocketship, I've got a special discount for you. So go to gigantic.is, sign up today, and start your journey upskilling your product, leadership, and marketing skills. I can't wait to see you there.
Welcome to the Rocketship podcast. I'm Michael Sacca.
I'm Joelle Steiniger.
And I'm Matt Goldman.
And we're having 20-minute talks with entrepreneurs teaching you how to launch your product into revenue.
Check out our book at howtobuildarocketship.com to reserve your launch discount and to download a free chapter.
Today we chatted with Samuel Hulick, the author of User Onboarding, and we learned how he was able to grow his audience from 0 to over 3,000 in less than 2 months, just by creating his own brand of unique content. And we also talked about the opportunities that came as a snowball effect of creating this kind of content. Really helpful stuff in here. I think you guys are going to love this.
So we are here with Samuel Hulick, the UX expert who is writing a book on user onboarding. You may have seen him from some of his teardowns on Netflix and Buffer. Samuel, welcome.
Thank you.
Great to have you. Can you give us the backstory about how you became an onboarding expert?
Sure. So I've been a UX consultant for several years and always really interested in aligning numbers with what I do. So taking a scientific approach and seeing actually how my recommendations turn out. So looking at the kind of projects that I most like to work on, onboarding itself was something that really neatly lined up with different numbers as far as looking at conversion rates that go from one step in the funnel to the next to the next. So those kind of projects I always really liked a lot more than like, let's just make it fun or things like that. So basically I took that to a full-time role at a company, SaaS company, where my role was customer success lead. And there I actually did a lot of hands-on onboarding of actually shepherding people through the process, jumping onto screen shares, doing customer interviews, really seeing where people were encountering trouble and feeding those insights back into the UI to scale it out for everybody's experience.
And you're not doing that anymore. So what enabled you to kind of leave the full-time position and write full-time?
Yep. So I was working full-time employee there and really had a burning desire to learn about how to bring a product to market and then actually bring a product to market. So I wound up being able to take on an apprenticeship position with Rob Walling, helping him bring his latest product, which is called Drip, to market, and learned a whole lot over a 3-month apprenticeship. And decided and then it ended on December 1st. And at that point, I transitioned to bringing my own product to market, which is a book on user onboarding.
And what prompted you to put out your very first teardown?
So initially, the book wasn't really about user onboarding. It was about this sort of high-minded philosophical approach to UX within a company. And so the title was tentatively Customer Growth. And it was about how if you align your business around improving your customers' lives, then your business will also succeed and things along those lines. And I realized very quickly that I couldn't even really explain what the book was about without taking a few minutes. And also that nobody in the world, literally, was we've got a real problem with this esoteric concept that let's do a search and see if there's any resources out there. So it was a way too vague concept. It wasn't something that people identified as their own need. But I was like, well, I'm just going to do it anyway. I was really committed to, if I'm going to start this book project, I'm going to see it through because it's a real pain to write a book. And I didn't want it to be like, the novelty to wear off and for me to waste a bunch of time doing something I didn't really enjoy for nothing. So once again, the whole goal was to bring a product to market. And instead of investing a whole lot of time in building a product, I thought the area that I really wanted the expert experience in was the actual selling of it and growing a customer base. And I thought an ebook would be kind of a shortcut to that experience.
This episode is brought to you by Miro. So when I was at Dribbble, over the 6 years, there was one tool that we would always use when we were doing cross-team collaboration. Whenever the collaboration started to get complex, we would bring in Miro. It made it incredibly easy to align stakeholders across regions and time zones and definitely teams with ease. And we were able to do all of that while being a completely remote team. It also has integrations into Jira, Azure, Rally, a lot of the tools that you're using already for product management and engineering. So you can import tasks from them as native cards, and it helps you see the big picture. It also helps stakeholders to understand what work needs to be done. It was incredibly valuable. And then they even have an estimation app that gives you a clear understanding of the work scope, lets you identify gaps, and then it has the ability for you to set clear expectations for delivery, especially when you're working across functions. So your first 3 Miro boards are free forever when you sign up today. Go to Miro.com/podcast. That's Miro.com/podcast. That's the sound of another sale on Shopify, and the moment another business dream becomes a reality. Because if you're selling online and you're not using Shopify, I don't know why you're making your life harder. Shopify is the commerce platform revolutionizing millions of businesses worldwide, whether you're selling, rare kicks to the latest product course that you develop. Shopify simplifies selling online and in person so you can focus on successfully growing your business. Shopify covers every sales channel, from an in-person POS to an all-in-one e-commerce platform. It even lets you sell on marketplaces like TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram so you can get closer to the sale. It's incredible. Packed with industry-leading tools ready to ignite your growth, Shopify gives you complete control over your business and your brand without having to learn any new skills. Plus, it's got 24/7 support, so someone's always there when you need it. We have been using Shopify on Dribbble since, honestly, before I got there, and that's over 6 years ago. So it's your turn to get serious about selling and try Shopify today. Sign up for a $1 per month trial at shopify.com/rocketship, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/rocketship to take your business to the next level today. That's shopify.com/rocketship.
And so you kind of tested the concept when you launched your first teardown.
Right. Yeah. Sorry, I got a little off track there. So in order to start building up that audience, I was looking at a strategy of blogging on my own and trying to do some guest blogging and things like that. And I realized that one of the things as a UX consultant that I really enjoyed and really thought brought a lot of value to people was going through their onboarding experience and providing an annotated slide deck. Basically, these are areas of confusion or anxiety, or this works really well, this is really strong, this has an opportunity to be improved, things like that. And so I thought it would be really something that would be valuable to share. So but at the same time, I didn't feel super comfortable just releasing something that somebody had commissioned and paid for. Didn't want to air their dirty laundry, so to speak. So I just picked a company at random and just put it out there.
What's really cool about this is that you ended up pivoting to be what people actually wanted, which was more closely tied to the onboarding, right?
Yeah. So the first teardown that I put out was I guess this is kind of, if you squint, related to the general topic of the book. And so, like I said, I just picked a company at random, and it's kind of a funny story. I chose Less Accounting just because I kind of liked what they were doing and wasn't super familiar with their product intimately, as a user. So I thought that would be, I could kind of have a fresh take on it. And I did it and put it out, didn't reach out to anybody there, and wasn't really sure what the reception was going to be. I didn't know if the people behind it were going to be upset or not. Anyway, I launched it that evening and then went to bed, and I woke up the next day and there was an email from one of the co-founders in my inbox. And I was like, oh no, he's going to be like, hey, thanks a lot for passing that by us before putting it there. Instead, when I clicked through it, he was like, hey, this was super valuable for us. We've already made half the changes you recommended just this morning, and we're going to do the other half later this week. If there's anything I can do to help you, let me know. And I was like, wow, that's great. So I was really happy to see that he got value out of it. They wound up blogging, blogging about the teardown and linking to it. So that really sent me a strong signal that this was something that people would be interested in and would really get value out of. And so I decided to do a follow-up one for Basecamp. And that one, just, I guess, because they're a much more widely known company and also known for their high design standards, that one got way more traction. It was, a lot more traffic and things like that. And basically at that point, I was like, I should really just be focusing on onboarding itself, because clearly that's something that there's a real need for. And also, at that point, I spun out a whole new site that was dedicated to it. Redid all the 2 teardowns that I'd already done so I could turn them into HTML, and then just basically pedal the metal from there.
So when you started doing this, you essentially had zero audience. and you put out your first teardown and went to bed. You didn't promote anything.
I would say like I didn't essentially have zero audience. I literally like I had friends.
Okay, you literally had zero audience, and
Yeah.
you spent the time to put together this teardown, put it out, went to bed. How did you start to build that list? Was it 100% out of your hands, just people sharing it? Did you do anything on Twitter or any other channels? Like, how did you start to give it a little push?
Yeah. I'm really, despite the 3-month apprenticeship, I'm really not a very natural marketer. I'm not very savvy in that sense. So the only thing that I've really done, which has worked really well for me, is posting it to Designer News. For whatever reason, the people there seem to really value it highly, and a lot of my teardowns get voted to, towards the top, if not the top.
You were writing on Medium, and for about 8 months, which is one of my favorite parts of your story here, is you were writing on Medium for about 8 months, and you had zero audience. You start doing the onboarding. Things started picking up. Where are you at today in terms of numbers on the onboarding?
As far as the email list goes?
Yeah. So like when you launch your book, what do you if you launched it today, how many people would you be sending it out to?
So just over 3,000 at this point.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I really can't stress enough how frustrating it was to feel like I had some good ideas, but just had nobody to listen to, or nobody that would listen to them.
Yeah.
And it was the only way that I can describe it is that as soon as I represented myself as the guy who knows about onboarding instead of Samuel Hulick, then all of a sudden I got a lot more ears. And so, that was something where there's a site called growthhackers.com, I think, the Sean Ellis sort of Designer News for growth hackers. Are you guys familiar with that?
Yeah, we've posted there before. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's something where I'll kind of hang out, or I'll check things like Quora for new posts on onboarding and things like that. And just share whatever my perspective on those are. And, I'm already starting to find where people are like, oh yeah, we should ask Samuel that. Where it's like, I was just some dude, 4 months ago, easily. And so that's been a really transformative kind of experience as well.
This episode is supported by the AWS Insiders podcast. AWS Insiders is a fast-paced, entertaining, and insightful look behind the scenes of AWS and cloud computing. Hosts Raul Submaranian and Hillary Doyle dig into the current state and the future of AWS by talking with people and companies that know it best. It's a show that's full of opinions, takeaways, and untold stories about the challenges, innovations, and mind-blowing promise of cloud computing. I checked out AWS Insiders, and look, it is a fantastic show, and it's perfect for anyone in tech who's looking for some of those behind-the-scenes stories, for some reassurance that, things are a little nuts everywhere, and everyone is struggling with a lot of the same problems. The first episode of season 2 is all about filling the cloud talent gap, and it's an interesting discussion on what do we do to help to staff up internally. What are some of the challenges that companies are facing? Search for AWS Insiders in your podcast player. We'll also include a link in the show notes. Thank you to AWS Insiders for their support.
Yeah, that's awesome. And there's so much you can do with that audience. And there's so much work to get there, and there's work after. But I feel like you've done a lot of the hard work to get the audience, and now it's that next stage of, where do I take this? And that's really up to you.
Yeah, and that's one thing working with Rob Walling. He had the best analogy for that, and I think I've heard it from other people like Rand Fishkin too. But having the difference between the hamster wheel and the flywheel. Are you guys familiar with that?
Yeah, they talked a lot about it at MicroConf last year.
Yeah, so that's something that really speaks to me, that it is a grind trying to just put these things out for free. That I would any of these teardowns that I've done, if a company approached me for those, that's like $2,000 probably.
Yeah.
And so, we're looking at something where I've generated what I guess I could have conceivably been doing for $24,000 over the course of the dozen teardowns that I've done. But whatever that audience that I have is already worth way more than that. I don't know. Did you see that the Super Mario thing?
Yeah. The graphics.
Yeah. So that that got like shared like crazy. And really, I did that pretty stupidly too. Like I didn't really watermark it or things like that. And so I saw it popping up in my Twitter feed from other people where like without a mention of, where it came from and things like that. So on the one hand, I'm really glad that it really resonated with a whole lot of people. And on the other hand, I probably could have capitalized on that a lot better. I just had no idea it was going to be so popular.
I didn't actually know it was you. I think I saw Joel Gascon share it, and I didn't know until just now that was actually you. That was pretty brilliant, by the way.
Yeah, thanks. That's just something, I kind of came up with that analogy while I was having a conversation with somebody, and they're like, "Oh, whoa!" And based on their response, I thought, "Oh, I should maybe spin this into some sort of content of some kind."
So, if we looked at kind of the time that it takes you to create this content and the benefit, I would love to see, how long does a teardown take you? And what's your traffic been looking like from each one?
Sure. I don't pay a whole lot of attention to traffic, just because for me, the whole point of this content is, or at least the main, now let me back up again. The initial reason for generating this content was building up the email list for the book. And so that's really the thing where, you kind of hear about like vanity metrics and things like that. Obviously I want to make sure that traffic is converting at a pretty decent rate, but I don't spend a whole lot of time obsessing over how much one teardown, how much traffic one teardown got versus another, things like that. Really, I just basically look at the email signups that they generate. So generally speaking, a teardown will take me about 5 to 7 hours to do, all told. I'll usually split it out over like go through the experience and make personal notes one night, and then like the next morning actually create the slide deck and publish it to the site. So that takes about 5 to 7 hours, and I guess I've done about a dozen. So whatever that is to 30 or 3,000 divided by 12.
Yeah, that's really cool. You mentioned that you're putting together slide decks for each one of these. Is there anything that you've picked up? I know we talked with Gregory Ciotti a while back, and he had some tactics on SlideShare or Speaker Deck on how to get content out and get it boosted up to the front page of there where it can do amazing if you do it right. Is there anything that you've picked up from him or other people in terms of promoting that content outside of Twitter and Designer News to do well within the sites that you host them on?
Yeah, good question. So the first two, Less Accounting and Basecamp, I did as I uploaded them to SlideShare, and was kind of hoping that there would be sort of like a medium-like effect where it would sort of promote it for me. And I found that, like, I even subscribed to the Pro package and, was looking into the analytics and things like that. And ultimately, maybe I didn't position it correctly or use that channel, like in a very smart way. But the trade-off just wasn't really worth it for me. And kind of in the same sense, medium, where you just have so little control over adding a sign-up form at the end of a blog post or at the end of a slide deck or things like that, where I thought, if I'm going to be having to manually market these things or promote them, then I might as well be doing them on my own terms and building up my own kind of SEO credits or reputation, and also just having that fine control over, this is the experience that I want to provide for people, and this is how I want to time my ask or CTAs or things like that.
So how do you do them now?
So I actually was initially hung my shingle out as a developer before I became a UX designer, and so I fortunately am pretty proficient with coding stuff. So basically, it's just a series of images that I created some jQuery custom code for to be able to flip through.
Nice. So where can we find these teardowns on the web?
I'm glad you asked. Useronboard.com, kind of like user onboarding, but that was already taken, so just without the ing.
Useronboard.com. Awesome. So thank you so much for joining us here and sharing your experience marketing content online. Everyone should go to useronboard.com, sign up for the book. Any timeline on the book that you're that we can expect it?
Not soon enough.
Okay.
I'm definitely looking, sometime in the next month, hopefully.
Oh, wow. Awesome. Well, we'll stay tuned to that email list then.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much, Sam.
Jolly raunchy rap. Bang, 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 ski, ski, ski. She do that thing for 3 retweets. The album feel like 92. Then take that bomb for heat 3P. Chance ho, I said, cruising on that LSD. Ask Joseph about my deal. He look back, said, hell yeah, let's see. This shit my favorite song. You just don't know the words, but I still fuck with you. You just ain't never heard. It go like count that stack, pop that captain down that jack. All my niggas hit that zit, and all my ladies bout that bitch. This my jam, this my jam, this my jam, this my jam. About that jam, about that jam, about that jam, about that jam. This my jam, this my jam, this my jam, this my jam. About that jam, about that jam, about that jam, about that jam. Young, rascal flax, young ass kid, ass could rap. Fuck all the faculty, tobacco packing, acrobat. Back to back, packing bags, back and forth with fits of jack and forth of weed. I'm back to pack on hits with young Cletus to pack my back. Yo, nigga with a nose ring, that's right. Just here to rap them songs. Rag on my hair, rap weed in Vegas, rockin' Vega bomb. Sing the song, oh, you don't know? What? Well, I still bang with you, hang with you, sit drink with you, as long as I can sing with you live. This shit my favorite song. You just don't know the words, but I still fuck with you. You just ain't never heard. It go like count that stack.
Hey guys, welcome to The Collective. I'm Brianne Helfrich, a 26-year-old bioethics PhD student and clothing brand CEO. Welcome to my podcast where we talk all things health and wellness, navigating your 20s, and becoming the best version of yourself. So, sit down, play that episode, and join the collective.
Hey, this is Mary Beth Lassiter. Are you craving a new podcast? I've got a recommendation. Check out Gravy, the James Beard Award-winning podcast that shares stories of the changing American South, brought to you through the foods we eat. It's produced by the Southern Foodways Alliance and distributed by APT Podcast Studios. Listen to Gravy on your porch during happy hour to hear about the mystery of the missing Pappy Van Winkle bourbon. Don't miss out. Follow Gravy wherever you get your podcasts.